Shalom, my Israelite brothers and sisters. So first of all praises to our Elohim and to his holy son, HaMashiach. So I just want to say, I pray that you all been having a wonderful feast of unleavened bread. Happy feast days. Tomorrow will be our last day of unleavened feast, ends at sunset. This has really been a good one for me, and I've really been enjoying it. I can't wait for Pentecost, 49 days later. So what I want to talk about in this video, or this lesson, I want to talk about the importance of Yah's set apart righteous acts. Now, I find a great need to discuss this for several reasons. One, you have some Hebrews, your new Hebrews who are just coming into the faith, kind of still have a lot of the Christianity still on them. And this is what the Christians also believe, that because HaMashiach died for the sins of his people, that somehow nullifies the law. But nothing could be further from the truth. Now in Matthew 5:18 it says, "For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled." You see, you have some Hebrews who truly believe just because HaMashiach died for the sins of his people, that all of a sudden voids the law. And that is not the truth. When HaMashiach fulfilled the law, it doesn't mean that it's abolished or done away with. It means to continue fulfilling it throughout our generations. Because if you read through the book of Isaiah and all through the Old Testament, we're going to continue to keep Yah's commandment statutes in the new kingdom. From one new moon to another, from one Shabbat to another, we're going to continue to worship him and observe these laws, commandments, and statutes. So when you're looking at Matthew 5:18, all have not been fulfilled. And we're going to continue to keep these laws, commandments, and statutes forever, even throughout the new kingdom. So you new Hebrew Christians, you need to get over that. And some of you still got that Christianity residue on you. And I'm going to tell you something. Christianity has done a hell of a job on our people. It is the worst drug ever. It's 10 times worse than crack. Why do you think so many Christians run to Paul's writings to try to defend themselves, to try to wipe away their guilt, especially the heathen who have taken our word and just messed it all up and tailored it to them and left us out of the picture? So the importance of Yah's set apart righteous acts was to teach us a lesson on faith, to point to the HaMashiach, and to reveal Elohim's character. That's what the laws are all about, brothers and sisters. And they were given to us and us only. They were not given to any other nation on earth but his chosen people. But what did our forefathers do? They went after the other nations, went after their women, went after their gods, everything, you name it. So before we get into a little more of the whole purpose of Yah's set apart righteous acts, I want to take you to an account that happened back in Maccabees, a very sickening account that our forefathers did. And it's the same mistake that our people are making today. And we're going to address that. We're going to talk about that. And you're going to see why it's so important not to intermingle or make pacts with these heathens. I cannot stress that enough, brothers and sisters. We do not need to be making any kind of covenant or pact with these heathens. That's our biggest mistake. Y'all remember the Civil Rights Movement? Martin Luther King and a lot of his followers and these white liberals sold our people out. That was all planned. It was a grand design to destroy the black community. That was the whole purpose behind it. But see, on the outside, it looked good to a lot of people because a lot of people came together and it's like, oh, blacks and whites coming together. That's so sweet. That's so good. You read throughout the Bible, there is never in a time where the Most High meant for his people to integrate with the heathens. That was never the case. And that's why we fell in such a low state. after that happened back in the 60s. It didn't happen overnight. It was over a period of 50 years, and and you look at us now, we're completely at the bottom. You hear me, saints? At the bottom. So let's go over to Maccabees and let's talk about a few things. All right, let's go ahead over to Maccabees. First Maccabees chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, is talking about Alexander the Great, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth. Verse 3. And went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries, and nations, and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive. So Alexander reigned 12 years, and then died. All right, let's jump down to verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, the son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Now, brothers and sisters, I really want you to pay close attention to this verse, because this is the point that I want to talk about, of our crazy forefathers and what they did, and how our people are doing the same thing today. So let's look at verse 11. And some of these I have highlighted because there's some points that I want to bring out. And it says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men. Read that part again. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men. Because remember, during that time of the Greeks, our forefathers were in Jerusalem. They were all there. And it says, who persuaded many. Now, you got to get the ramification of this now. Who persuaded many. So in other words, these wicked Israelites, our forefathers, went and persuaded their own people, our people, just like today. You see these black preachers, these Sunday preachers, persuading their people to make a pact with these heathens. But let's continue. Who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. Now, let's look at the seriousness of this, brothers and sisters. It says, let us go and make a covenant. Now, what is a covenant? A covenant is an agreement between two people. Now, Elohim had made a covenant with his people, Israel. Now, here our forefathers go, and this is not everybody. This wasn't everybody. So I want to make sure we get something very clear, because every generation, you always have wicked Israelites, no matter what. Even in this generation today that we're living in, we have wicked Israelites who would do no good by our own people. And this is what this is talking about. So they made a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. Wow, that's deep, because that tells you that our wicked forefathers, the ones who were meant no good, would go to the Greeks and make a covenant, an agreement with these heathens. But let's continue, because it gets worse. It says, for since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Y'all hear that? Departed from them. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Y'all remember the wilderness? When our forefathers left Egypt, they were in the desert 40 years. They weren't even in the desert for less than a week, and they were complaining. They forgot about all the promises. They forgot all about the plagues, the miracles that Elohim had bestowed, and how Elohim had destroyed our enemies in the desert. They forgot all that. And they said, since we departed, we've had so much sorrow. They were complaining about the same thing in Egypt. We want to go back to Egypt. We miss our garlics. We miss our meat. We miss this. We miss that. Just complaining. So they made a covenant with these heathens. And we're doing the same thing today, brothers and sisters. Our people are constantly making covenants with these heathens. Or I'm going to use the word pact. Now you may say, okay, what are you talking about when you say make a pact with these heathens? I'm talking about integrating with these heathens. Intermingling with these heathens. Our black men marrying their white women. Our black women marrying their white men. Sending our children to their private schools knowing good and well they're going to get called a nigger, get called a coon, trying to be rich like them, trying to live like them, trying to blonde our hair like theirs. That's what I'm talking about, and much more. We are not to envy. We are not to learn the ways or follow the ways of the heathen. As it says in Jeremiah 10:2, we are not to follow after the heathens, brothers and sisters, but we keep making the same mistake. I don't know what it is about our people. Maybe it's a good thing that we are scattered, because we're so divided on this issue, it's not even funny. And we still don't get it. We just don't get it. Now, I understand we're in the land of our captivities and we got to work with these heathens. And that's fine and dandy, but we don't got to intermingle with them. We don't got to do what they do. We don't got to be friends with them. We don't got to befriend them. They are enemies, and the Most High tells us who our enemies are in Deuteronomy 28 and throughout the whole Bible. So we really got to get this in our mind that these people are not here for our good. They're here for our destruction. And that's why the Most High is starting to rain down the symbolic plagues of Egypt on these heathens. And he's going to eventually destroy them. I mean, completely destroy them. And we're going to see it right before our very eyes. All right, let's continue. Let's look at verse 12 and 13. So this device pleased them well. Y'all hear that, brothers and sisters? It pleased them. These wicked Hebrew Israelites were pleased, not all of them, but just the ones who devised this wicked thing. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people, notice how it says certain, then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them, get this, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathens. Wow. Gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathens. So you mean to tell me that our forefathers loved the heathen so much that they were willing to forsake the commandments, laws, and statutes of Elohim? Are you serious? Are you crazy? That's what our forefathers did. And this is not the only account that happened, brothers and sisters. There's been several accounts that this has happened. And this is what I cannot wrap my mind around. When you see the beauty of Yah's laws, commandments, and statutes, you can't but wonder. You have to be literally crazy in your mind, literally demon possessed, to even think about something like that. Making a pact with these heathens. License to do after the ordinances of the heathens. Are we not doing that today? We have a lot of these black prophets who are getting up in these pulpits and teaching our people that the law was done away with. Teaching them to be like the heathens. Teaching them to be like their enemies. Teaching them to love their enemies. Teaching us, our people, to marry the heathens. It's okay to marry the heathens. It's okay to marry outside your race. No, it's not okay to marry outside your race. That's the problem. And it's killing our people, and it seems like it's getting worse and worse. Now, I'm going to tell you something, brothers and sisters. As the awakening is happening as we speak right now, the shaking is going on at the same time. A lot of you Hebrews, we got to be I'm telling you, we got to work out our salvation with fear and trembling every day, because a lot of us are going to be shaken out of this faith. A lot of our people are going to turn back to Christianity and forsake their faith. The laws, commandments, and statutes that was given to our people, They're going to forsake that, and they're forsaking it as we speak now. So many of our people are losing faith because the drug of Christianity is choking them so much that they're giving in. That's why this walk is no easy walk, and this walk and this faith is not for the faint in heart, brothers and sisters. And some of you listening to me right now, I guarantee you can agree 100%, because this truth is not for everybody. Not every one of our people are going to accept this truth. That's just the reality. I hate to break it to you, saints, but that's just the reality. All right, let's look at verses 14 and 15. I want y'all to get this, because this is crazy. I mean, I get goosebumps every time I read over this. It says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem. Y'all hear this? At Jerusalem, in their homeland, according to the custom of the heathens. According to the customs of the heathens. We're going to address that. Verse 15. And made themselves uncircumcised and forsook. Y'all get that, brothers and sisters? And forsook the holy covenant. What was the covenant that we talked about? It's an agreement between two groups of people. Elohim made a covenant with Israel. And it says, and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathens. And joined, get that key word, and joined themselves to the heathens. Wow. And were sold to do mischief. Now let's go back up right quick. So I want to talk about where it says, and they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathens. Now, you can go back and study it, but during slavery, the heathens built them churches, or our forefathers built these churches. They told our people that we got to worship in these churches. We got to worship a white Jesus. And we got to forgive our enemies and love our enemies. No matter how much we beat you, whip you, rape your children, throw your children to alligator bait, you got to forgive us. This is what they brainwashed our forefathers to do. And these churches, these Christian churches, all they are is, y'all want to know what I call them? I call them pagan shrines. That's all they are, brothers and sisters, are pagan shrines. It's just a place to worship their damn idols. That's all it is. So every time I see a church, in my head, it's a pagan shrine. That's all it is. Let's go down a little bit. And forsook the holy covenant. So I can't get over that. And forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathens. And they were sold to do mischief. Brothers and sisters, there is nothing new under the sun. It is going on right now as we speak. So many of our people have forsaken the holy covenant with Elohim and joined themselves to the heathens, going back into Christianity, doing everything that these heathens are doing and loving these heathens. Our people are sick, brothers and sisters. Our people are so sick. It's just incomprehensible how sick some of our people are. And this is their thinking. Why do you think these other races, they don't really marry outside their race too much? Do you know that blacks, according to statistics, blacks marry 70% out of their race? 70% of blacks marry outside of their race. We are the only race of people that do this at a very high number and a high percentage. It's crazy, y'all. These other races, they don't really do that. Now, they do marry outside their race, but it's at a very low percentage. But we do it, and this is part of the curse. Part of the curse is that we are living out, and it has hit its mark. All right, let's go to Zechariah 13 and verse 8. Because of this wickedness, because of our people constantly wanting to join with these heathens, make a pact and covenant with these heathens, our people are going to be cut off. The ones who are constantly wanting to make a pact with these crazy heathens. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Elohim, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Only a third, brothers and sisters. That's not a big number. It really isn't. And that tells you the widespread corruption within our people. You know, broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, but narrow is the way that leadeth unto eternal life. The laws, commandments, and statutes, brothers and sisters, is the only way. You cannot separate the laws from Hamashiach. You can't do it. That's what the Christians try to do. We know the words of Hamashiach when he was on this earth. He said that he only came to the lost sheep house of Israel, none else. He only came for his people. So we got to stop feeling sorry for these heathens, because they're cut off. They're already cut off. They've been cut off. But yet we're going to be cut off with them because we want to join with them. It's a crime, shame. All right, let's go over to Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16. And let's go ahead and start talking about the beauty of Yah's set apart righteous acts. And it says, 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before Elohim in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Elohim empty. Now, I highlighted that for a reason, because I'm about to give you a precept. And this precept that I'm about to show you, not everybody's going to agree with this precept, because so many of our people love fables. So it says that, and they shall not appear before Elohim empty. Now I'm going to read back up there too, but it says 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear. Get it? Appear before Elohim. So appear is the key, 2 key words I want you to really pay attention here. Is to appear before Elohim, and to not appear empty. Those are the 2 key words I want you to see before we go to this next precept that I'm going to give you. But before we go there right quick, I just want to expound a little bit. So our forefathers throughout their generation, all the males got together 3 times out the year to present themselves before Elohim. And this is something that our forefathers did throughout their generations, but unfortunately, you know, they started looking after the heathens, and all that lost its true meaning. The purpose of the set apart righteous acts, the laws, commandments, and statutes, lost all of its meaning to our forefathers. And that's why they forsook it, because it's like the heathen became, the ways of the heathen became more pleasing to what the Most High had provided our forefathers with. All right, let's go to Job chapter 1 and verse 6. And also remember, I wanted you to pay attention to what we just read in Deuteronomy 16:16, those key words that I highlighted. So verse 6, now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Elohim, and Satan came also among them. Now, if you look up the word sons of Elohim throughout the Bible, it's referring to his chosen people. You know, and you have some Hebrews who use this verse and they think that it's talking about the fallen angels. But again, some Hebrews are not going to agree with this precept, but this is a precept to Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16. But the whole point I wanted to make is about these laws, commandments, and statutes, and how beautiful they are. And these set apart righteous acts were only given to Israel to show us the whole character of Elohim. Now that's deep, brothers and sisters. That is very deep. The next 2 verses are going to be very beautiful, brothers and sisters. Let's look at Psalms 40 and verse 8. It says, I delight to do thy will, O Elohim. Yea, thy law is within my heart. And this is deep because now this captivity, this trade, this Atlantic slave trade was the only captivity where the law was completely erased out of our people. Now, during the other captivities from our forefathers, they were all together and they knew who they were as a people. But this was a little different because, for one, we were scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. And so, therefore, our people are not together as a nation. We're scattered. So the law was forgotten about. So it took the power of the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, to come into our lives and to start revealing his law in our heart and waking us up Now, just because it's laws within our heart doesn't mean that we don't have to observe these set apart righteous acts. That means that no one can take them from us. That's what that's talking about. No one can take these laws, commandments, and statutes from us unless you decide to forsake the laws of the Most High, like our forefathers did. We read in Maccabees. So the point I want to make here, brothers and sisters, is that when we practice these righteous set apart acts, we are giving glory to Elohim. We are uplifting his holy name, because these laws, commandments, and statutes are the very heartbeat of Elohim. They cannot be changed. They cannot be abolished. You cannot abolish Yah's laws. I don't care how hard you try. Because I'll tell you what, these heathens have been trying for the last 2,000 years, or actually way before that. So they are already on a losing streak, and they're pretty much already cut off, and they're getting ready to be destroyed. Now you have a lot of our people who are going to be able to witness this destruction firsthand. And we're seeing it right now, but we ain't seen nothing yet, brothers and sisters. Oh, it's going to get crazy. Everything that we've talked about, these heroin, these people are hooked on heroin, these heathens, these all kind of stuff, it's getting ready to get even hotter. And by the way, this heroin addiction has gotten much worse, way worse than what they can even imagine. But you know, they're not going to put that stuff in the news. You know, they're going to hide everything they can hide from the public, because they do not want the world to know that white supremacy is almost on its tail. It's at an end, and it's coming to a complete close. Let's go to Deuteronomy 6:25. Deuteronomy 6:25. And it says, "And it shall be our righteousness." Now, righteousness simply means to be put right with the Most High. That's what it means to be put right. If we observe to do, y'all hear that, brothers and sisters? If we observe to do all these commandments before Elohim, as he hath commanded us. This is probably one of the most powerful verses in the scriptures. Read that again. "And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Elohim, as he hath commanded us." You know, when you read the words of Hamashiach, he says it all the time, constantly. "If you love me, keep my commandments. My commandments are not grievous. If thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments and live." We can't get around it, brothers and sisters. And when we practice these set aside righteous acts, do you know what we're really practicing? If we really truly believe them with our heart, we're practicing our rite of passage out of this place, brothers and sisters, back into our homeland. This is what this is all about. The Most High wants to prepare us to leave this place. Now, of course, we can't leave on our own. You know, you have a lot of brothers and sisters who are trying to flee on their own because they think that America is completely Babylon, but the Babylonian system is all over the world. So it doesn't matter where you go. And I'm going to be doing a video on that too, because there's this article I want to share with you guys. It was about this article about Ghana. I guess they're giving the so-called blacks here in America the right, the passage to go back to Ghana. But don't be fooled by that, because it's a trap. Because first of all, these heathens have not paid us reparations, but they're telling you you can go back to Ghana, and you know they're not going to give you a dime to do that. But we're going to talk about that in another video. But when I want to get back to, though, these laws are so beautiful, brothers and sisters. They are to teach us about Elohim's character, and this is what our forefathers missed. They didn't get it. They got it for a little bit, but for some reason, their willingness to want to follow the heathens nullified all of that. They couldn't see it. So the Most High could not bring them to that next dimension. And all of the higher dimension means it's just a higher spiritual level. So the Most High could not bring our forefathers on that higher spiritual level because they were still on that 3D thinking level like the heathens. They couldn't see past that. And that's all the Most High wanted to do. He wanted to bring our forefathers to a higher spiritual level. But guess what? The Most High is getting ready to do it with us, brothers and sisters, because the Bible says in Nahum 1:9 that sin shall not rise the second time. When we get to the kingdom, we're not going to make the same mistakes that our forefathers constantly made. We're going to love these laws so much that we're not going to even want to think about breaking Yah's laws or forsaking his covenant. And so when we practice these righteous acts, for example, practicing the Passover has been a blessing. I'm telling you, it has been a blessing because it reminds me of our passage out of here. The Most High, just like he delivered our forefathers from the hand of bondage of Egypt, he's getting ready to deliver his people. That blood is the sacrifice from Hamashiach that's going to cover us. It's his righteousness. Of course, brothers and sisters, we are not righteousness in our own strength. It is the righteousness of Hamashiach. It is the righteousness of Elohim that covers us. And brothers and sisters, Elohim has given us more power than we actually realize. I don't think we even realize the power that the Most High has bestowed upon us. But the problem is that we are so lacking in faith that we don't know how to properly use the Most High's power. But he has given power unto us to be overcomers. So I just wanted to put that out there because these laws are so powerful, that they're so meaningful, that we seldomly get it. We got to see the meaning behind these set apart righteous acts, and that's the whole point. And that's what our forefathers missed out on. It became meaningless to them. It became a routine, something that you just do every week, every day. No, brothers and sisters, you gotta train your mind to see the beauty of these laws, commandments, and statutes every day. And I'm telling you something, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, to be able to have the honor to be able to worship the Most High, to observe his laws, commandments, and statutes. It's the best thing ever. So we're going to go ahead and close it out here, but I pray that you all were edified on this. But really consider that, brothers and sisters. Consider the importance of these set apart righteous acts, because I'm telling you, there's nothing like them on the earth. And with that being said, I'm going to leave you with Revelation chapter 14 and verse 12. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of Elohim and have the faith of Hamashiach. And brothers and sisters, like always, it's an honor to serve my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters scattered to the four corners of the earth. And I say shalom and stay strong.